Annalisa from Eye Candy Quilts, and this is my friend Jenni Grover, and she is a wellness coach for quilters and a fellow maximalist. Thank you. I appreciate all of the colors, as you can see. Uh, and we are talking about how to get creativity as a habit, creativity in your day to day life, making it a priority.
Annalisa, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, well, as you mentioned, I'm a maximalist quilter. I try to get every color into every quilt. It doesn't always happen, but
Yes.
I give it my best effort. I'm a wellness coach for makers and quilters, anybody who makes things with their hands, with their brain. And I love helping my maker people feel their best. So I coach people on physical, mental, social, creative, and spiritual wellness.
That sounds awesome. And I'm very excited that we got in touch and got together for all this thing because I have been feeling for a while like let's be honest, it didn't start with COVID, but COVID didn't help stuff. It's like life has been hard for the past 4 years and has not been getting easier.
Mm-mm.
And as creative people, whether or not, you feel like you're more sensitive to it, life is just hard no matter who you are. And I think a lot of times people put off their hobbies, put off making, say that that's not important, or they just get bogged down in day to day. I have small kids, like
Mhm.
I have a business, I have a job, like it's hard to fit in time to, do that.
Mhm.
And I think there's something that I keep talking about. I keep thinking about. There was an article in the New Yorker by Eilert Waldman that talked about how working in general, she took up quilting since
Yeah,
October to help deal with, you know, everything.
everything.
Yeah, just waved hands in general direction about
Mhm.
everything. But yeah, Kermit Arms time. So she talks about taking up quilting and that there's so many studies that are done with working with your hands gives your brain
Mhm.
dopamine.
Mm,
And I want the happy brain. I want the
me
happy
too.
drugs in my brain and I want to do it through fabric. Like that is my fabric's my drug of choice. That's what I'm going with. But
Yeah.
so but like I said, it's hard. So you do this all the time with clients. And so thank you for doing this with us for free.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I know it's so hard. So what do you tell your people? What are your ideas for helping
Mhm.
us prioritize that?
Well, I will say quickly that that article by Ayala is so good. I really hope everybody goes and reads it. I felt
Hmm.
so connected with her and so
Right.
seen. Like it was just like, yeah, it's really, really hard. There's so much happening in the world right now that's so much more difficult. And as creatives, like it's hard to feel like we want to prioritize our creative work because we might be struggling financially or we might have health issues. Like I have chronic health issues and recovering
Hmm.
from one of two foot surgeries that are happening this year. And it's a lot. It's like, how do I make
Yeah.
time for that? So yeah, I work with my clients, my one-on-one clients, and sometimes in workshops on how to prioritize creativity. So, one of the first things to remember is to stay in touch with our motivation. So,
Mm.
sometimes we forget why we do this. And maybe it's to get that big dopamine hit, or maybe it's to feel a sense of control over one tiny thing when everything else is like out of our control, you know?
Oh my gosh, that one hits home a little bit. Okay,
Right?
yes. Hmm.
Same. And or maybe we do it for other people. Like I'm about to start now that I can sew again after the surgery, I'm going to start a quilt for my niece, graduation quilt. Time is ticking, but she's probably going to
Yeah,
get it
'tis the
late. That's
season.
okay.
It's fine.
But we want to think about why we do this because we
Mhm,
just in the mess of things sometimes forget. So that can help us remember that we want to prioritize this even for tiny amounts per day, right? The
mhm.
second thing I always recommend is finding some kind of creative accountability buddy. somebody that
I smile because we say that in my family. Me and my husband use the accountability buddy system a lot, so
oh, good.
that's fun. Yes,
Well,
no,
I've been saying accountability buddy, and then someone told me, and maybe it was you in in an Instagram comment. I think it's accountability buddy, and I was like, well,
yeah,
yeah, okay, it is now.
it's from a South Park episode. Just
Is it?
full transparency. It's
Okay.
like so take that what you will as far as humor
Yeah,
and stuff,
I'm
but yes,
into it.
accountability buddies.
I'm into it. We're instantly
Uh-huh.
bonded even more now.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, an accountability buddy is so great because you can build a relationship with someone and y'all, whether it's one-on-one or in a small group, y'all get to design what that relationship looks like and how you hold each other accountable. And I always say like lovingly, compassionately, patiently accountable because sometimes we screw up and we don't want someone, well, I don't want someone going like, "Rah, rah, rah." That doesn't
Yeah,
do it for me, right? I have clients who love that. They want me to go, "Rah, rah, rah," and
right,
but we get to choose. So
right.
to find somebody that you feel like you trust to hear what you need and to be that person that checks in with you once a week, or maybe you're texting your friend every day, like a little snap of your design wall and saying, look what I did, or
Mhm.
help me pick colors or whatever, but someone who touches base with you proactively to see if you're prioritizing your creativity and you do the same for them. And
Right.
it can be so fun. It can lead to kind of cool creative partnerships and collaborations and also just that feeling of like I'm not alone in this. I have
Yeah.
people on my team, you know?
They can be your cheerleader too. It's not only,
Yeah.
checking in to make sure that, you're doing the crafty equivalent of touching grass. Have you touched grass today?
Yes.
Like, but they can be like, hey, that's really awesome, cool. So, because a lot of the times for creative things, yes,
I'm
touch
just
grass.
getting
I
my
have,
emotional support fabric right here.
yep, I have it's up within arm's length at all times. So,
Yeah,
but
we
they can tell you, a lot of times you get in your head about creative things. I
yeah.
always talk about that the creative process is this is great, this sucks, I suck, this is great again, and just repeat. So like when you're in that this sucks, I suck period, you need
Yeah.
someone who is not you to say like, no, keep
Yeah.
going.
You know what's so interesting is I was at PT this morning as I do multiple times a week right now and as I'm recovering from surgery and I was feeling really down and like I think that my physical therapist is like an accountability partner. I'm touching base with
Hmm.
them a couple times a week or and I was feeling really down and I shared why I was feeling down and they gave me a really nice reality check, and it was like that moment of someone seeing me, hearing me, and then saying, "You're right, it is frustrating.
Right.
Of course, you're sad. Here's a tissue, but also you're not in your boot anymore and you're making progress and you're going to the gym." Like, I need
Yeah.
that person to remind me, listen, like, you want to be here, you're here. It's a journey,
Right.
But
It
yeah,
doesn't mean you won't get there. It's just you're on your way
right.
there.
So,
Yeah.
like, an accountability buddy can be that person that even if you tell them, I only had 5 minutes today and all I did was pet fabric, they're going to say, good for you.
Hmm.
Excellent that you surrounded yourself with color and texture and brightness. So,
Yes.
another thing I recommend to people is kind of stacking things. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so like or like quilter Heidi Parks calls it habit snuggling, where you take something you're really good at and then you
Yeah.
snuggle or stack something on top of it. So like I'm really good at TV. I can watch a lot of TV.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
But that means that I could also like fold fabric while I'm watching TV, or I could
Yeah.
hand sew, or you name it. So if there are things like maybe you have a weekly phone chat with a friend, maybe that's a
Mhm.
time to get a little like fabric sorting or hand sewing in while you're chatting. Or maybe there's a time like I don't have kids, but kids have homework. Maybe they're sitting and doing homework and you're with them every week, every day as they're doing
Right.
that. Maybe that's your time to have your own little thing too. So we want to think about how do we merge that with something that is kind of unavoidable. And so
Yeah.
it's the same with like if we're brushing our teeth. Okay, years ago someone told me do your Kegels when you brush your teeth. And
Yes.
so like every time I brush my
Take
teeth,
care of
I'm
the whole body.
got to take care of
Yeah.
the whole body. It's
Mhm.
important. Pelvic floor health is really important.
It's
So
true.
It's when you snuggle those things together, it makes it easier to remember, oh yeah, right, this is important to me. I'm doing it. It becomes more of a habit. So it's like,
Mhm.
you know, I know you and I have talked separately about the difference between like habits and systems. And
Right.
sometimes it can feel really intimidating to build a habit and it can feel kind of overwhelming. And some of
Mhm.
us, when we're neurodivergent, like sometimes the idea of a system is a little more graspable, you know?
Right.
So these are all ways of building in like a scaffolding, a support system to help you build this creative lifestyle, this practice. And the
Yeah.
last, and one more thing I want to say quickly is just it's really important to stay open to trying different methods of incorporating creativity because
Mhm.
sometimes we feel like if we can't get on our sewing machine, well, then we might as well do nothing.
Right.
Mm,
Yes. And
yeah.
that goes back to the habit snuggling. I was like,
Mhm.
don't discount that time or
Yeah.
that ability to get stuff done. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm the first to admit I would much prefer to have a marathon sewing session. But
Right.
it's like to use sports metaphor, small ball still wins the game. Like you still
Yes.
you a little bit the pebbles add up to make a landslide.
Yeah.
All of those things. It's like it's not a bad thing to do little bites, and
Yeah,
and that
for
is
sure.
still valid, worthy of your time and effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will add, as I recently experienced, if you can't even get into your studio at all, finding other ways that you can feel creative in your life.
Hmm.
So, like, let's say you make a salad every day for lunch. Well, maybe you want to try a new ingredient on it, or maybe you want to plate it in an interesting way. Like, I always throw everything on there like a big mess. My sister came to visit a while back and she arranged everything so carefully in little cute piles and put like a cherry tomato on top.
Aw.
And it was so pretty. It looked like a
Aw.
chef had done it. And it was like, that's creativity. That's a
Right.
moment to think about color and texture and shape and balance. And so we can bring that eye and that perspective into all these other areas of our life. And then even if we can't get into our sewing space for a day or a week or 3 months, as I had,
Hmm.
we still feel like we're doing creative stuff, you
Right.
know?
And feel free to, if you are trying things and it's
Mhm.
not making your brain happy, let it go. It's
Yeah.
okay. Not every version of doing something is going to be the way that works for
Mhm.
you, and that is also okay, because
Mhm.
people get wrapped up into the whole mindset of, I'm not doing this right, I'm a failure, as opposed to, this isn't working
Yeah.
for me. And I think that needs to just keep it in the front of your brain. It's a hard thing to
Mhm.
do, but it is not you failing. It is something not working for you.
Yes, I'm in a handful of Facebook groups for makers, and in one quilting Facebook group, it is the young and millennial quilters Facebook group. It's a giant Facebook group, and just so frequently I see because they're beginners and
Right.
they pop in with a comment and they're like, "I can't sew a straight line. I suck." They just like they immediately go to like, "I'm a
Mm-hmm.
failure," and I get it because I remember being that person.
Yep.
um, but that's where the accountability buddy comes in. That's where that structure comes in and that's where remembering our creativity nests and rests and all these other places. So one thing that is occurring to me is to think about like when I'm working with clients and they're really trying to prioritize stuff, I usually try to help them coach them around finding a system that helps them put it into their day-to-day routine. So
Mm-hmm.
like some people like a recurring calendar reminder. They like to
Okay.
they know that they have a lunch break or they know they have afternoons off and they need their phone to buzz at them and say, it's time to go sew or whatever. Some people hate that and they'll ignore their reminders. That's
Mm-hmm.
me. I totally do that.
I
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So then I work with clients to try to find other ways to create that structure. So sometimes it's something like, that every Wednesday is your creative day, or
Mm-hmm.
that from 8 to 10 a.m. you are creating, and then you're going to roll into your work. Picking times that are and again, you may need to snuggle that up with some other habit to get you started on that path. But okay, so I'm thinking about if someone wanted it to be 8 to 10 a.m., they're like brushing teeth, doing kegels. Oh, right. Once I do that stuff, then I go sew for a while. Like
Mm-hmm.
stack those habits on top of each other, right?
Yeah.
Another thing that I find helpful, if I can't really turn my camera all the way around, but right over there, there's a giant whiteboard poster on my
Okay.
wall. And that helps me to, I can see even sitting here, because this is where I sit when I coach folks and stuff, when I
Hmm.
teach, I can see chunks of time blocked out for creative projects. So
Yeah.
sometimes we need a big visual, like this
Yep.
is a third of my wall over here is calendar. That's what works for me.
Yeah, but you can see it.
Yeah,
It's not gonna escape
no,
your eye line, anything like that. It's
no.
gonna be there.
It's always there. I can't ignore
Hmm.
it. The minute I walk into my studio, I see it. And then the one last thing I want to say about that is that sometimes people need to kind of like gamify their schedule. So they need some kind of reward. Yeah, right. So a lot of
Hmm.
people with ADHD, this works really well for a lot of my folks with ADHD. It sometimes it works really well for my folks on the autism spectrum. Like we
Hmm.
have this reward system. Sometimes it works for me. Like if someone says, I'll give you a cookie if you do whatever, I'm going to do it. Um,
Yeah.
so it might, for some people, it might be good to gamify it. Let's think about what's a reward. What's a healthy, positive, loving reward you can give yourself as you're building this new habit and this new
Hmm.
lifestyle of creativity. So like maybe it's every day you get into your studio, you're dropping a quarter in a jar, and when you've got enough money, you go buy a spool of thread or whatever.
Something.
Yeah, or maybe it's a check mark, or maybe it's you've got a ton of stickers like I do. Maybe you put a poster on the wall every day you go in, you put a sticker up, and then
Yep.
you're using them and seeing them and touching them and everything. Like you want to
Yeah.
build in. So it's, I think, again, to staying open to different opportunities to find time in your calendar to schedule it. And like, it's that we've got to maintain that attitude of, we call it a growth mindset. So like
Okay.
a fixed mindset is like, I'm this kind of person and that's me, period. You know?
Hmm.
Like I have a nephew who for a while was in this mode. Every time I'd offer a thing for him to try, he'd say, I'm not the kind of guy who eats broccoli, or I'm
Okay.
not the kind of guy who colors with a black crayon, like whatever it was. I'm not the kind of guy who. And that's
Right.
a fixed mindset. I mean, he of
Right.
course grew out of that, but like we want a growth mindset because when we set those limits on ourselves, I mean, some things, of course, like I'm not the kind of guy who is mean to people. Okay, yeah, that's pretty
Right.
true. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But when it comes to creativity, we want to think in a growth mindset. Like, I haven't been the kind of guy who or the kind of girl who did that, but I'm open
Right.
to exploring it, you know?
Yes.
Like,
We talk about it with how we use fabric because
mm,
for eye candy quilt stuff, people are when we do trunk shows and different things, people are like, I would never have thought to use the fabric this way. It's like there is
yeah,
no one way to use a fabric. So
yeah.
my mom always calls it taking the girdle off your brain. I when we were talking about it the other day, I'm like, this is quilt bra burning. We're taking it off. We're burning the bra. You can use it any which way. So the same
It's
way,
like
exactly.
I
Get
want to like
comfy.
take it off, dangle
We're
it.
gonna use it every which way. So it's that same sort of thing as
Yeah,
whatever however you tell yourself you can't. Yeah, you can.
yeah, yeah,
Within reason. Like
yeah,
again, back to we all have things that get in the way,
yes,
and those suck. But
yeah.
yeah,
But sometimes we get in our own way.
right,
And so, of all the things that are on top of us, financial stuff, health stuff, relationship stuff, job stuff, world, everything stuff, we don't
right.
have control over a lot of it, but we do have agency. We do have choice in how we think about ourselves. And it can be hard when we've been thinking about ourselves in a certain way for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But little baby steps and practicing can help us shift our mindset and get more open to possibilities. And again, that's where that accountability buddy can really come in handy because if you
Yes.
go for a week and you just can't find it, they may be able to help you find it,
Right.
or working with a therapist or a coach or someone who
Or
can,
coming to Jenny and being like, hey, I need some help.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I love helping people in that way.
Yeah.
There's one thing we haven't talked about that I want to touch on if we have a couple
What's
more
that?
minutes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so I'm, I'm thinking about tracking projects and how we keep track of them
Yeah.
because Sometimes it can be very overwhelming to have a long list of projects, and sometimes it
Yeah.
can be helpful to get it out of our brain and onto some other thing so
Right.
that because sometimes people come in the studio and I've been this way too, and it's like I'm paralyzed. I have 12 different, or
Yeah.
let's be real, like 24 different works in progress and like how do
Yeah.
I pick, right? So I think it's important for people to remember that it can be good to get it out of our head and make a list. So I use the Notes app. I keep it really simple, but lots
Hmm.
of people that I know use things like Trello or Notion, or they may use some other kind of projects management software like those.
Shout out to Asana for gamification, because
Hey,
when you complete things, you get like a little unicorn and
oh,
different stuff. So like if you and you don't know when it's going to happen, so you want
yeah.
to finish stuff so you can
Okay.
get your strange little creatures.
Oh, that's so great. I didn't know that about Asana.
It's
That's so
so
fun.
goofy and I am on board with it. So,
Oh, I love to hear that. Okay, I'm gonna add that
mhm,
to my list to recommend to clients because I did not know that, and I know a
yeah,
lot of people that would be into it. I would be into it. I
it's
trained
great too.
for a 5K 2 years ago and then some last year, and my app had a runicorn,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and he
You
would
need your
pop in while
unicorn.
I was running and be like, "You're kicking ass," you know.
That's so fun.
Yeah, so finding things like that that work for you,
Mhm.
whatever, I personally, I have all these clear boxes under my cutting table and they're
Mhm.
labeled. And so I can see everything that I have, but I can also put it away and get it out of my face. So
Right.
lots of options, lots of opportunities to explore. Um, and also staying open-minded means you'll always find new ways to keep that creative energy going.
Yeah. And it's not, there is not a wrong way to do it, and
Mm-mm.
there is not there it will be okay. And if you miss a day, that's okay too.
Oh, heck yes. Yes.
So, so let's say let's finish this up just because we're chatty people and I know we will go on for a while. But so where can everybody find you if they want to get involved with coaching? Let's say that again. Where can everyone find you if they want to get involved with, get some coaching, take classes, all that good stuff?
Thank you so much. Well, so everything is Coach Jenni Grover. So the website is Coach Jenni Grover, and it's Jenni, and it's
Mhm.
Grover like Sesame Street. So
Fantastic.
yeah, so CoachJenniGrover.com and Coach Jenni Grover on all the social platforms. And I love connecting with people. So if any of this resonated or if something about it just didn't make sense to you, please reach out to me because I'm so happy to help people.
Yes, and your IG feed, which is where I see you most often and just stalk you, is
Yeah.
always just full of good stuff and happy stuff and reminders, and it just makes things a little more smooth and happy creative vibes. So thank you for
Love
that.
it. Thank
So
you so much.
thank you for
Yeah.
joining us for this doing it for the dopamine.
I'm so
Okay,
into it. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to see all the other folks too.
I know it's gonna be good. All
Yeah.
right, thank you. Talk to you later.
Bye.